Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, March 23rd, 2016, show number 1084. I am your sick host, Shawn King. My apologies for not being able to do a show last week. I literally could not sit up last week. I had a hacking cough. I still got the cough. So you'll hear me every now and then, like right now. Cough, sorry. And just couldn't manage it. But I had to do a show tonight because I realized, as I was thinking about it this afternoon, it's been 4 days since I uttered a word. Literally, the last words I spoke were last Saturday, and the words I spoke were, "May I have a tall, flat white, please?" And that was it. I don't talk to anybody. I don't see people. I don't talk on the phone. Yeah. So I kind of got to do it, no matter how sick I am. So this may be an abbreviated show, but I'll try to do the best that I can given my limited skill set. On tonight's show, as always, we got our good friend Jim Dalrymple at The Loop at loopinsight.com. I'm going to talk about the Apple event. Going to talk about what went on Monday and his thoughts and opinions and reactions to the event overall, but also the announcements that Apple made during the event on Monday. If you haven't watched it, you should. As always, they're interesting. I was kind of miffed that the presenters didn't seem to know, and this is a personal thing for me because I present for a living. The idea that they didn't know what was on their slides really kind of ticked me off. Now, they're not professional presenters. They're not maybe people who are comfortable doing this kind of stuff. So I'll cut them some slack, but they kept having to look down at like every single time to see what the words were on, and it was just really kind of distracting to me. But that's, again, a personal thing. Overall, I thought it was a fine event, given what it was, a mid-season minor announcement. And we knew it was going to be a minor announcement because of where Apple held it, in the town hall. It only seats 300 people. Apple used the town hall event, for the most part, for mid-level events. This was not going to be an event where they're going to announce the next greatest product. So people who complain about that aspect of it just have their heads up their asses. They don't understand what's going on with Apple. Well, let's talk a little bit about the FBI thing. The FBI pulled back on its demand that Apple basically crack open the iPhone for them. And we'll talk about why that happened and what the next move is going to be with Jim. Also, we're going to talk in our starting point photography segment. I have this idea. I've been doing these meetup groups, meetup.com, for photography, for beginning digital photography. And the most popular meetup group I do is the one when I do photo critiques. People send in their photos, and I critique them in a nice way, not a you're a shitty photographer, don't ever take another picture kind of way. It's, hey, here, I see what you're trying to do, really great attempt, here's how to do it better kind of stuff. So I thought I'm going to start doing it maybe once a month on the starting point photography segment. So what you guys do is you send me a photo that you would like critiqued, that you think is a good photo, how to make it better. What did you do wrong? What did you write? How to make the photo better. So what you do is you send me the photo, you send me whatever information you can about the photo, and I'll pick one photo out of the bunch that will come in, and once a month I'll just do a little segment about the critique. Tonight, the first episode tonight will be from our friend Dave Mark, who is down in Cape Canaveral. He was down for a rocket launch last night. He's also lucky enough, the bastard, is in spring. He's at a bunch of spring training baseball games all this week. So good for him. I hope he and the family are having a good time down there. But he gave me permission to let him be my first guinea pig on the starting point photography segment. So send me a photo to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. And again, I'm not going to be mean about it. Don't think I'm going to call you names or say you're a bad photographer or whatever it is. Send me as much detail about the photos you can in the highest resolution you can send it to me at too. So if you have the raw file, send me the raw file or a high quality JPEG. Tell me what camera you shot it with, and if you know what the camera settings were too. Usually that information is embedded in the file that you'll send to me. But Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com, and once a month I'll pick a photo out of the bunch and we'll see how this works. Sorry. Yeah. This past week was the 10th anniversary of the Twitter. 10 years ago, this week, Twitter, and it wasn't even spelled that way. They left up the E, like Flickr without the E. And I've been thinking about it. For example, by the way, we're running our 2 chat rooms. The IRC chat room is still available. You can go to the website, yourmaclifeshow.com, and our good friend Monty has embedded the IRC chat room right there below the video on the website. Or you can join our Telegram room. yourmaclifeshow.com is a link to the Telegram room too, and join us in the in the Telegram room also. Telegram room is a lot of fun. It's open 24 hours a day, so you can just drop in whenever you want to talk to some Mac folks or me or whatever it might be. It's kind of neat that because it's open all the time, we see folks, like, whenever they're up, join the Telegram room. So VJ is in India, and Khaled is in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and there's other folks in Australia and in all over America. It's kind of neat that these folks just sort of pop in whenever they feel like it. So anyway, that's the Telegram room. So Sherry and I were talking about Twitter last week in the Telegram room, and she was unhappy with Twitter. Didn't like the way Twitter was working. And this is not to pick on Sherry or to make fun of Sherry. But what I've always told folks is Twitter is what you make it. Twitter is who you follow and how you interact with both Twitter and your followers and whoever is following you. You hear a lot of folks say, oh, my Twitter feed's just full of people posting pictures of their breakfast. Well, you follow those people. You're the reason why that's all you're seeing, is because those people you follow. For me, and this is just personally for me, Twitter is a conversation medium. As I said, I haven't spoken in 4 days, but in those 4 days, I probably had 400 different conversations about 100 different things. I've talked motorcycles with my friend Jay Earl in Scotland. We'll talk politics all the time. We'll talk Mac stuff with all kinds of people. Folks ask me questions and I ask them questions. So for me, it's a constant conversation back and forth, which is why I've got like 120,000 tweets in the years I've been on Twitter. It's because I'm having a conversation. I follow very few famous people. I don't follow any celebrities for the most part. Because if I'm going to have a conversation, if you're one of the people I follow, it's because it's because you're interesting. And I want to have a conversation with you. And celebrities, for the most part, can't have conversations on Twitter. For them, it's a broadcast medium. In other words, they send out one message to many people. And they can't get many messages to them because they're only one person. So the very few people I do follow on Twitter who are celebrities are usually minor celebrities, like I Am Sam B, Samantha B on Full Frontal, who I love. Fantastic show. I've always loved her. Loved her on The Daily Show. Love her in her new stuff. And she'll occasionally be able to have a conversation with people. But for the most part, it's just people I find interesting for whatever reason. And it's not everyone, not because I know all these people. I probably only know personally maybe a quarter of the approximately 300 people I follow. The rest of them are folks who have said something I find of interest, and I'll go and click on their Twitter page, and I'll see what they've said over a period of time. And if they're interesting, they've said interesting things, I'll follow them, whether I know them or not. That's how I use Twitter. I get a lot of folks who are upset at me that I think I've got 3,000 or some odd number of followers, but I'll get people saying, well, why don't you follow me? Frankly, it's because you don't post interesting things. Sorry. That's probably why. It's either because I don't know you, who you are. I don't know of you. You've never tweeted at me. You've never said anything to me, so I don't know anything about you. Or you have, and I've looked at your Twitter feed, and for me personally, I didn't find your stuff interesting enough to want to put it in my Twitter feed. Not that you are not interesting. I don't want people to think that. I'm saying that what you tweet isn't interesting to me. Because I'm sitting here looking at Twitter 12 hours a day. I want interesting things in my Twitter feed. I don't want to see what you had for breakfast. I don't want to know what you think of a particular soccer team. I don't care. So for me, I don't bother with people who just post, I guess for lack of a better term, normal stuff. So again, Twitter is what you make of Twitter. If you make an effort to have Twitter be something of interest to you personally, then it can be useful. Whether that's, if you like cute dog pics and you want your Twitter feed full, there's all kinds of websites, Twitter feeds that will do cute dog pics for you. Sherry says, it's just difficult when you follow many people from many fields. I also don't like how everything is public or everything is locked down. I appreciate the ability to segregate audiences like you can on Facebook. I understand that. And what we've told Sherry is to use lists to manage those things. What you can do on Twitter is you can have for example, for me, I could, if I wanted to, have a photography list and a Mac list and a motorcycle list and a politics list and just check those lists when I want those things. I don't do it that way, but I could do it that way. MacMan says, wait, there's an app called Telegram and Telegram Desktop. Which is the official one? MacMan, both are. One is from the App Store and one is from the Telegram website. The only difference is user interface difference. The Mac Store one has got a more colorful user interface. The Telegram one, which I believe is, let me just find out for you, is version 2.04 is the official Telegram client, and that's the one I use, but only because it's just not as visually cluttered as the other one. So later in the show, we'll talk about photo critiques. Again, send me your photos that you think you'd like critiqued. If you want someone to say what's good, what's bad about it, how to do it better, that kind of stuff, send me an email to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. Up next, though, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com about the Apple event and the FBI. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. I am your host, Shawn King, and coming to us live, direct under the bridge, our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. Where are you?
Listening to some AC/DC.
It's awfully loud under the bridge tonight.
Yeah, I know. We found one of those ghetto blaster things.
With the giant D-cell batteries, remember those?
Yeah.
It took like 12 D-cells, only last 2 hours.
those were something, man.
They really were, man. They were hilarious.
And then you carry them around on your shoulder.
Exactly.
And,
We used to have in the basketball course in Halifax all the time, and literally you would take up a collection to get D-cell batteries.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were so huge, they were so expensive, and they only lasted like 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to listen to music? You got to chip in.
That's right, exactly. So all kinds of news this week, but the big news I want to get your thoughts and opinions on is this story I saw on The Verge. Pornhub launches a new channel devoted to VR porn. How does it look, Jim?
Wow. Really? Holy crap. Really? God almighty.
I've been working on that joke all afternoon, man.
Holy crap, man.
Oh, dear.
This is what people do. This is why the rest of us can't have nice things, because stuff like this happens.
Well, there is no doubt, though, that in many respects, porn has driven a lot of the technology industry. You know, where porn goes, they're always leading the edge in how to deliver content in, for them, the best way possible. The reason why I bring this up, not only because the joke, was, and I think we've talked about this before, but there's been so much talk about VR in the last little while. And I know our friends over at Tech Pinions are really beating the drum of VR. And people want Apple to jump into this, where Sony is, and Google, and HTC, and a bunch of companies. Do you see any real desire among average people to want VR?
No.
Neither do I. I don't get it. I haven't seen any average person say, yes, I want to watch movies in VR, or I want to do anything in virtual reality.
I wouldn't mind having a hologram or a holodeck. You know, but I don't need VR.
I don't get it. I don't say, because I think one of the things is, for me anyway, watching content is quite often a social thing. I want to watch movies with friends and with family or in a movie theater. VR,
that must be difficult since you don't have any friends.
Exactly. It's almost impossible. But VR takes you out of that social experience, or sorry, that social experience of watching sports or watching a movie.
Well, when I think about stuff like this, when people are pushing to have this technology done, I think about things like NFC, where people were pushing Apple to go into NFC,
Yep.
but there was nothing you could do with NFC. I mean, nobody was enabled for it, and you couldn't even pay for anything with NFC.
No.
And Apple waited until the time was right, and then came out with Apple Pay, and it took off because it was the right time. So, yeah, I don't get it.
And I don't think Apple's going to jump into the VR market anytime soon. I can't see them doing it for 2 years because there's just not enough there. For gaming, I get. I can see why the gaming guys are all over this. That makes sense to me. And I can see why some vertical industries would want to do it. I can see having blueprints on a screen in front of you while someone's working on a building. That I get. But for average, everyday people, and folks, if you disagree with me, if you want VR, if you're an average person, you've heard friends and family, send me an email. I'd love to hear about what your experience with it is. But for me, I don't see it at all.
No, I don't get it.
We saw a lot of commentary from any number of people. Lance Ulanoff over at Mashable said the stupidest thing about this Apple event on Monday ever. He said, Apple, we don't need an event for every single iPhone you announce.
Well, then Lance should not go.
Thank you. It's exactly what I tweeted. It's like, then don't cover it. There's no one I didn't realize Apple was forcing you to go to this event, Jim. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's foolish.
It's
foolish.
Isn't part of it too that the fact these people don't understand Apple events? It was in the town hall. And if you have half a brain or have been around longer than a few years, Apple uses the town hall for smaller events.
Right.
That's what they do. They don't do major to Apple major announcements in the town hall. Even the iPod was in the town hall, and that signified Apple didn't see it as a major event.
Wasn't in town hall for long, though, was it?
Exactly. They got out of there pretty quick. But it's kind of frustrating to see folks who should know better. I mean, I get when the average person says, "Oh, there wasn't much there," but when the technorati say that stuff, it gets really, really frustrating because it shows a fundamental lack of understanding of how Apple does what Apple does. I think the biggest news coming out of the Apple event, the most disturbing news coming out of the Apple event, let me know if anyone in the room saw this and thought about this, but Tim Cook's outfit had elbow patches on. What the hell? What the hell? I mean, did anyone comment? Literally, seriously, I was like, what is he wearing?
I don't care. I really don't.
It was just weird, though, to me. It just elbow patches. That's just a strange thing to see Tim Cook wearing. But
yeah, I could care less.
I think one of the interesting things was the perception of the way people expect these things to go. I love the fact that Tim Cook once again used his pulpit to again sound off on his thoughts and opinions about the FBI and this.
I was surprised with that, to be honest.
Why? Really interesting. Why?
I was, because Apple usually keeps that stuff pretty separate.
Yeah.
You know, at a product announcement, they usually talk about product, but. You know, I guess in this case, you know, it was an unprecedented move by the government, so that leads to an unprecedented response, I guess.
I think it's an example of Apple saying, you know, we're not going to just let this go. We're going to, I mean, obviously this is before the FBI backed off. We'll talk about that a little later. But I think it was Apple saying that, you know, this is our PR campaign. We're going to continue to keep this front and center and to make sure folks remember what's going on here, not let this get out of the public eye.
Yeah.
Next up was Lisa Johnson, the Apple's environmental VP. That was a surprise. Jackson. I'm sorry, my apologies. That was a surprise to me. And you actually wrote something fairly extensive about this on the Loop, loopinsight.com. Give us your thoughts about her appearance.
Well, as I said in the article, like most people, I was focused on product announcements that day. And it was, when I sat back and thought about everything that was said, I was impressed by Apple's continued commitment to the environment. I mean, they could come out every day and say what they're doing and, you know, beat their chests about it, but they don't.
Yeah.
And to get an update like this, it's pretty significant. You know, the things that they do, I mean, think about it. They could go to a country, that picture that I posted of the yaks, they could go to a country, wipe out that whole area for farmland to build their solar panel, take a beautiful picture and show it off to the press. But yet, you know, they would have wrecked, you know, how many farmers' fields in doing it.
Yep.
But they didn't do that. They go in and work with them and build them higher so that the animals can still graze.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty impressive. So I thought that I think that they deserve a lot of credit for what they're doing. I think they're leading the way.
I think the thing I liked about it, too, was the example they used of the solar farm in Singapore. They could have very easily just thrown their hands up and said, sorry, Singapore is too dense population. We can't do it this way.
Yeah.
But they came up with a different way of doing it. Instead of just saying, man, we tried our best. We couldn't do it. They came up with the idea of, hey, let's just rent out space on top of these buildings and put solar panels, which is brilliant. It makes perfect sense. You might as well do it there.
More than 800 roofs.
Yeah.
And they have a solar farm on the roof. I mean, in Singapore, if you put it on the ground, it probably wouldn't get any sun.
Okay, exactly. That's right. You look at the population density and the building density in places like Singapore and Hong Kong, and even in places like New York City, you could not do these kinds of things unless you did it this way. And so I think it's very clever of Apple to find ways to make these things happen as opposed to just saying, we tried.
Yeah.
I
agree.
The other aspect of it is the idea that they keep doing things that make economic sense for them and then happily also make environmental sense. The Liam robot thing that they showed can take apart an iPhone in 11 seconds, which is great for them because it probably saves them money, but it also saves the planet too. The two things go hand in hand for the company. They're not doing it just because of the environment. They're doing it because it also makes them money, or at least saves them money too. I like the fact that it works both sides of the equation for Apple.
Well, I want a Liam robot to get me beer.
That would be kind of expensive, though, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't want to pay for it, but
well, okay, all right. It's gonna be
I want somebody to donate it to me.
The other announcement,
because Liam could get rusty under the bridge.
Yeah, exactly, that's right. Yeah. The other announcements Apple made were about Research Kit and Care Kit, which I also thought were two very, very interesting things. Although there was a couple of snide remarks on Twitter, and I don't know if you folks in the room made them too, was that while Apple wants to keep the FBI out of our phones, they're going to collect all this personal data about our health on our phones too. And that was kind of funny.
And that's just not right.
Exactly.
Come on.
Because that's still information that you control. Apple isn't sucking it off your phone.
Jeez. People.
Now, I've got a couple of friends who are doctors and research scientists, one in Portland and one in New York. When I ask them about this stuff, because I don't pay much attention to this kind of stuff, but when I ask them about it, they're very, very excited about these things. Because if you think about it, research is all about data. And gathering data is hard when it comes to people, because you're often, as they told me, you are in this location and you can't get people from outside that location to enter your study. But with Research Kit and Care Kit, they can get people from around the world, tens and tens of thousands of people around the world involved in their studies. They're very excited about this kind of stuff.
Or they can choose where they want people.
Yeah, true. Yep.
We only want people from these particular states. Yep. That maybe it's in the south where the weather conditions are particularly harsh on a disease, yep. Or and they can get tens of thousands of them. This is pretty. It's pretty significant.
Yeah, I agree. The actual announcements, I think the biggest surprise to me from the event was Apple said that they had sold 30 million 4-inch iPhones last year.
Yeah.
30 million. And that's why Apple did what they did on Monday, because they know.
Well, and the skeptic may say, well, they sold, 200 million or whatever iPhones. 30 million is a small portion of that. But 30 million shows that there's a substantial market for this phone.
Sure.
And you have to wonder why other people are still walking around with an older 4-inch iPhone 5, yep. Because they like that small form factor. So if you give them basically a 6S and a 5S body,
yep. Yep.
They're going to go buy that. So I think that 30 million number is going to go up.
As Doug Pasnak says in the Telegram room, straight up math. If 30 million isn't all you need to know why they made the SE, you should not be talking about tech.
There you go.
That's exactly right. That Apple saw that they were still selling buttloads of the 4-inch phones, and they said, hey, let's continue to serve that market and get more of that market, and has the added benefit of, as many people are pointing out, this is also could be a developing country or third world country phone.
Yep.
And not everyone needs a big, giant iPhone 6S Plus.
Right.
I
like
do.
Me, because I can't see shit.
Exactly. And you and me do, because we're blind, because we're old. But not everybody's old and blind. I could not go back to a 4-inch iPhone. I absolutely could not. If Apple made me do it, I couldn't do it because I cannot see the screen very well. It's just simple age. But I get why so many other people, I know I've asked people who've still got a various version of the 5 phones, and why haven't you upgraded? And almost all of them say one of two things: either not under the contract yet, or they don't want the bigger phone. They just they don't want a phone. They've seen the physical big phones. Either friends have had them or they've gone to the Apple store, and and they simply don't want that big phone. So it makes sense for Apple to keep building and making better, smaller iPhones.
Of course. I think it's a great move.
Now, one of the things a lot of folks have also talked about is the fact that it seems, though, that Apple now has a lot of products. There's a lot. It seems to be some confusion about the huge number. I mean, Apple's now got 2 iPad Pros.
Yes.
Do you think there's a lot of confusion among people that harkens back to the bad old days of 17 versions of Quadras and LC 450s and all that kind of stuff, or do you not?
No, because this is based on size.
Yes.
I mean, you have a big iPad Pro, you have a little iPad Pro.
Yeah.
You don't need to know the specs. Big one, little one. You know, and I think that goes back to what people want as well. I mean, I talked to a lot of people that wanted the power of the iPad Pro in a smaller form factor.
Yeah.
So, now you have it. And I think it'll sell really well too. I think it'll probably outsell the bigger one.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if that's true, but it certainly is. There certainly are a lot of iPhones available. For example, there's the iPhone SE, the iPhone 6, the iPhone 6 Plus, the iPhone 6S, the iPhone 6S Plus, with various price points and various sizes of gigabyte storage and that kind of stuff. It can be confusing for the average user. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, all of those ones, I guess so. But if you want the latest version, you're going to go for the higher up one, and the other ones are built for a different market. The iPhone SE is built for a different market than the iPhone 6S Plus. I mean, blind people like me get the 6S Plus.
Yeah.
So the iPhone 5S or the iPhone SE, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a market for that. We've seen it.
I think the key realization is that Apple is no longer. A lot of the comparison people they'll keep bringing up that the Steve Jobs Matrix from '97 when he only had 4 products.
Right.
But as Jan Dawson told me, we have to remember that was a time when Apple was in a lot of trouble financially. And they had a bunch of products that they weren't making any money on. They were selling printers. Apple was selling CD-ROM players, things that they were not making any money off of. And it confused the market and confused the engineers. So they got rid of all that stuff. It was a much, much smaller company. But now it's the largest company in the world. They need to have products that hit a lot of different markets.
Well, and that's the key thing. I mean, if you're Apple, you don't want to settle for only the high end or the mid. You want to grab it all.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that everything that you every product and every person that wants an Apple product can buy one.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing.
So hopefully this isn't confusing and I wouldn't describe it as being the same as the bad old days of 45 different Quadras, but hopefully it's not too confusing for average users, especially because most folks are probably going into an Apple store where they're going to get fairly good advice, depending on, obviously, in the Apple store, of which phones to buy and or which iPads to buy. The only issue is, and this is mostly a nerdy, geeky issue, we all wish there was one product in the middle. People complain about the 16 gigabyte iPhone, but average users can deal with 16 gigabytes. I think us techies and nerds want more storage for cheaper price, but that's what we're always going to want. But there's that mid-range. There's no 32 gig iPhone and no 64 gig iPad. That's the ones I want. That's a sweet spot for me, personally.
Yeah.
But that's just a personal choice because I don't want to spend $1,000 for an iPad Pro up here in Canada.
No, I understand that.
Let's talk about the FBI story. It was announced on earlier, last week, that the FBI had found someone else to crack open the San Bernardino shooter's iPhone. When you first heard the story, what did you think?
I thought it was interesting.
I thought they were lying.
Well, no, they're not lying.
But when I first heard the story, I thought, yeah, bullshit. You guys just don't want to go to court on this one.
Well, no, I think that this Cellbrite thinks that they can.
Yeah, that's what we know now. But like I'm saying, last week when this happened, we didn't know
Oh,
that.
no, I didn't think that they were lying about it. I mean, I think one of the bigger things is that they thought they were going to lose.
Yes, I agree.
See, either way, if they go to court, they're going to set a precedent.
Yeah.
Win or lose.
Yep.
And they didn't want to set a precedent of losing. I think the FBI thought the public would and the Congress would be more on their side.
Yep.
And they're not. I think Congress kind of turned on them partway through, and I think that surprised them.
Yep.
So, and Apple didn't back down. Maybe they were expecting Apple was going to back down if they brought it out into public.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened, was that they thought they could push Apple around, that Apple would just acquiesce, because they had acquiesced to previous court orders. They didn't give any kind of fight before. I think the FBI also miscalculated. They could have done this whole thing under seal, under a gag order. And I think if they do it again, that's exactly what's going to happen, that there will be a sealed gag order that Apple won't be able to talk about. I think all the things that you say plus that made the FBI think, oh, we're not going to win this one. But supposedly this Israeli company is at least offering to do it. This is a company that the FBI has worked with in the past on other security issues, so it's not an unknown company to the FBI. But the key is, to me, Apple's going to ask this company how they did it, aren't they?
Oh, sure.
This company is not going to tell Apple, though, are they?
Probably not.
And when that happens, this is, I think, going to accelerate Apple's desire to completely lock down the iPhone.
Well, of course. I mean, they're definitely going to want to lock it down. No doubt about that.
I think they were they were locking it down anyway, but I think this is going to make them really, really determined to do it even more so.
Well, I mean, think about it. If there's a way into the iPhone that somebody has found, then that's a vulnerability that Apple doesn't want there.
Yep.
So, they're going to try everything they can to make sure that never happens again.
Because the issue is that if it's insecure on Apple servers, we don't know how secure it is on Cellabyte servers.
Yeah.
That's the scary part for me, is that if
Apple, they're already hackers snooping around their servers.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This is kind of scary. And the FBI originally said only Apple could open this thing up. Only Apple could do what they were asking. And now, the day before the trial was supposed to start, the FBI goes, nope, there might be other folks out there. And I'm sitting there going, whoa, what? What? Who?
Yeah.
Now, again, it doesn't matter to me because I don't have anything on my phone that I care about. But as a big picture security, encryption, privacy kind of issue, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is.
I think,
but it didn't seem to me that they actually knew that they could get into that particular phone.
Yeah.
They can. I think that they've found a vulnerability and that they feel it's one that they can take advantage of. Mm. But who knows if it'll work on this particular phone or not? I mean, obviously, the FBI is just not going to turn it over to them and say, "Okay, see if you can do it."
Yeah.
Yeah,
because they don't want to take the chance of them screwing it up. I mean, that's why that's why they didn't give it to John McAfee when that idiot said he could do it.
Yeah,
they're not going to hand it over to any moron. Let me take a shot at it. Sure, what the hell kind of thing? No,
I'll do it.
What the hell? Because of the history the company has with the FBI, I think that's why the FBI is saying we're pretty sure these guys can do it. And there's going to be a bunch of tests, and it won't be until April 5th before we find out any more information. But this is actually phase 2, and it gets kind of scarier now, knowing that there's some other company out there that can do that, and therefore another target of hackers.
Yeah.
There was a story that came out through Daring Fireball from a website called Information that was even scarier. There's been a lot of talk about Apple and their cloud services and making their own servers. And apparently it's because Apple is worried that the servers they use now are being physically hacked. Did you see this?
No.
Apple has long suspected that the servers it ordered from the traditional supply chain were being intercepted during shipping, with additional chips and firmware added to them by unknown third parties in order to make them vulnerable to infiltration, according to persons familiar with the matter.
Holy crap.
At one point, Apple even assigned people to take photographs of motherboards and annotate the function of each chip, explaining why it was supposed to be there. Building its own servers with motherboards it designed would be the most surefire way for Apple to prevent unauthorized snooping by extra chips. Huh? What the hell? Well, it turns out this is something that the NSA has been doing already. There is an organization of the NSA that's called the National Security Agency's Tailored Operations Access Unit. And what they're shown to be doing is unboxing Cisco routers, inserting infiltration chips of whatever kind we don't know into these routers, and then sending them off to the customer outside the U.S. They're legally not allowed to do it inside the U.S., but outside the U.S. So these are going off to wherever, Britain, Germany, whatever. And so they're putting hardware, I got to assume it's the NSA, I got to assume they're putting spying chips on these routers. Yeah. Mind blown.
Wow.
If you don't think security and encryption is a big deal, this story alone should make you think twice about that.
Jeez.
That's kind of weird and scary and freaky, isn't it?
Or is it conspiracy, or is it true?
Oh, God, no knows? Kidding. No kidding. You can just go down that rabbit hole as far as you'd like.
Who wrote that story? John McAfee? Or?
Remember it was a newsletter called The Information that came out about 6 months ago. It charges a fortune.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know.
All the details come from that website.
Yeah.
Finally, did you guys even notice this? It caused a big stink on Twitter and in the blogosphere when Phil Schiller said that there was something like 600 million PCs available in the world that were older than 5 years. He called them sad.
Yeah.
Did anyone react to that inside the room?
We laughed.
Was the perception at all what outside the room took it to be? Was that Schiller was mocking poor people?
No.
It was just a joke.
Oh, my God.
I know.
People. It's like Apple has an event and it's a race to stupid. Wow.
Yeah, I remember thinking 600 PCs over 5 years. Wow, that's a lot. And it's a great opportunity for Apple and for Microsoft and everyone else to sell these machines. But I never once thought that those are old PCs because the people who have them are poor. That never crossed my mind. To me, it's because those machines still do what they want them to do.
Wow.
And that the vast majority of people are using them for the most basic and mundane of tasks. They're web surfing and email and word processing type stuff. They're not using it for games and other heavy lifting graphics type things. So they're perfectly happy with that 5-year-old PC.
Yeah.
But a certain percentage of the blogosphere went immediately to, Phil Schiller is mocking poor people.
My God. People. I have no patience for people. That's why I like dogs. No patience for people.
Did you read the New York Times story that Apple policy on bugs may explain why hackers will help the FBI and not Apple?
Why?
Because Apple doesn't pay for bug hunters. Other companies, including Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, do in fact pay bounties for those who report bugs to the company. So it's
if I reported bugs, I'd be a gazillionaire right now.
How do you figure?
If Apple paid for bugs.
Why?
I've reported so many bugs
Oh.
that I'd be a gazillionaire.
Sorry, sorry. I should make it more clear. Bugs and hacks like 0-day exploits, as David in the Telegram room points out. We're talking about those hardcore security type things. Not
Fine. Fine. Whatever. I don't care anymore.
But it's an interesting story, if only because it points out that there's already a black market for these kinds of hacks and bugs that government agencies and other companies and other hackers are already paying for on the dark web.
Yeah.
Upwards of $1 million for a hack. So for the hackers, it makes more sense for them to go to the FBI, who'll pay them for the hack, than it is to report it to Apple and have Apple close that loophole.
Capitalism at its best.
There's
right
some
there.
scary shit going on, man. There's some weird stuff going on, and the more I learn, the more, again, yeah, I'm with you. I just want to go find a dog and go live in the woods.
Yep. I talk to squirrels these days.
Yeah, as long as they don't talk back, you're doing okay.
Okay, well, what if they do? Just hypothetically.
Yeah. Asking for
do?
a friend. Yeah, that's right. Folks, with Dr. Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. He has two of his own podcasts, The Dalrymple Report with Merlin Mann and Amplified with Dan Benjamin. You can find them both on the iTunes store. Jim, thanks for joining me, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Shawn.
Have a good night. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks very much to Jim for joining me Wednesday night, as he always does. Because I have pictures of him with a goat, so he doesn't have a choice. He has to show up. I got a couple messages, folks. Sly isn't here because she's feeling better. Actually, she's feeling so much better, she's buggered off to Seattle. She is headed off to see a Springsteen concert. We all know what kind of insane fan of Bruce Springsteen Sly is, and he's playing in Seattle, I think, tonight or tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure when, but she's driven down there with some friends, and her and her Springsteen fans squad are down there, hopefully enjoying themselves as we speak. That's where she is. Excuse me, still hacking that thing up. ArcSign says, that hackers will take revenge on Apple for not paying bug bounties is BS. Many hackers work for organizations that will pay them much more than bug bounties. Crooks pay hackers a lot more. Sorry, ArcSign, I wasn't saying that we'll take revenge on Apple, that it's just more lucrative for them to work with other companies than it is for Apple. Apple gives you a little notice on the website, thanks to so-and-so for finding the bug. But if the FBI will pay you $1 million for that same bug, it makes more sense for the hackers to sell it to the FBI. Hackers are not charity workers. I'm going to start a new segment. Tonight's, this is the Starting Point Photography segment, the website startingpointphotography.com. I don't know if I mentioned it on the show recently, but don't forget, if you'd like, you can get you can have my 2-hour class, especially if you folks are watching by Google Hangouts. I can do the class. I do 2 classes. One, learn how to take better pictures with the camera you already have, and one, learn how to use your DSLR. 2 classes. Last about 2.5 hours each. Do them via Google Hangouts. $75 a piece. If you want more information, go to startingpointphotography.com and get it there, or send me an email and I'll send you more details. The great thing about the class is live video, so you can ask me questions live back and forth, and it's on demand. So I do the class when you want the class done. So if you want to do it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon your time, whatever time that is my time, I can do it. You want to do it on a Friday night at 9 o'clock, I'll do it at Friday night at 9 o'clock your time. So whenever time is best suited for you. And you can get a couple friends together and watch, too. You can put it on your TV set. You can use the Apple TV. I don't know. DJ. Oh, that reminds me. DJ, can you do that on the Apple TV? Is everything I do via Google Hangouts broadcast to Apple TV, DJ? Just curiosity. DJ, also, did you send me that email, DJ, about the I don't think you did. Remember, DJ Macintosh has an Apple TV app for your Mac Life. And it's just been updated, so you can listen to audio in the background of your Apple TV. So you can watch the show live on your Apple TV, which is kind of insanely cool. Or you can watch archives of the show on your Apple TV. And you can also listen to it on the Apple TV. So there's all kinds of different ways to check the show out. So you have to do a search for it on the Apple TV App Store. Just do a search for Your Mac Life. startingpointphotography.com is the website if you want more information on how to get a personalized class for you. As I said off the top of the show, I'm going to be doing once a month, I'm going to start doing this photography critique segment. And the idea is, as I said, my meetup group meets up once every 3 months. And it's the most popular class I give. Meet up in a pub downtown Vancouver. And we get 30 to 50 people show up. And basically what it is they send me their pictures and I critique them in a gentle way. I'm not mean to people about it. These are beginning photographers. These aren't pros. These are folks who are just trying to learn how to take better pictures. So we sit around and they give their opinions too. And I learn from them and then they learn from me. I thought I would start doing it here, but once a month on Your Mac Life. So what you do is you send me a photo that you want critiqued, that you want to know how to do better, or you want to know what you did wrong or what you did right. Send me as the highest resolution photo you can with as much detail about the photo that you can. If you know the camera, the lens, the exposure, the f-stop, all that kind of stuff. And tell me a little story about the photo too. Because obviously the photos that are more interesting. I'm not going to do every single photo. I'm not going to do every single photo that shows up. But the ones that are the most interesting ones, I will do. DJ McIntosh says, the Hangout stream goes through YouTube, and I pick up the stream there. Only about a 5-second difference. Okay, good. Excuse me. Sorry. So, the first photo is from our friend Dave Mark. Dave is, as we speak, down in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Or at least he was last night. He was down to see a rocket launch that luckily went off without a hitch. So he and his family got to see a Cape Canaveral rocket launch. And now he's in spring training. No, he isn't. He's watching spring training baseball down there, which is kind of cool. Good for Dave. I think it's kind of neat that he's able to be down there and do that. Let me see if I can't find this photo for him. Where to go? There we go. There it is. So Dave took this photo. And it's a photo we've all seen a bunch of times. It's one of the gigantic rockets that are on display at Cape Canaveral, which is a great NASA facility for learning about the history of spaceflight in America. If you have kids are going to love it. Even adults, it's very cool to check that out. So you can see the photo, and almost everybody who is seeing this photo says the exact same thing. The first thing you notice is the fact that there is a great big huge wire in the middle of the photograph. Can you see that? Can you see that thing just sticking up there like a sore thumb? Doesn't that look terrible? Poor Dave. And the reason why that wire is there is very simple. It's because as photographers, we tend to see something, as beginning photographers, what we do is we tend to see something interesting. And I've seen this happen 1,000 times. You're walking around, you have your camera, you look for something to take pictures of, you see something interesting, and you go, boom, and you stop. And your feet get nailed to the ground. And you don't move. And you take the picture right from there. Instead of looking at the scene, taking some time, looking around to see what's going on, maybe moving around the thing. This is all assuming you have the time to do it. But we tend to just stop, click, and then move on. And the other thing we tend to do is not look around the object that we're shooting at. In this case, Dave didn't look in the foreground. He didn't see that I guess it was probably a guy wire of some kind. That guy wire sticking up through his photo. You can see this thing just sticking up there because he was so focused on the rocket itself, he didn't notice this in the foreground. He wouldn't notice things in the background either. If there had been a telephone pole sticking up out of the rocket, he wouldn't have seen that kind of stuff. He wouldn't have noticed that kind of stuff, because we're not trained. We don't train ourselves to see the object, but then look around the object, look behind the object, look in front of the object, look to the side, even out of frame on either side, because maybe there's something coming into the frame that might be interesting or distracting, a person or a golf cart or whatever it might be. For Dave here, it would have been so easy for if he had stopped, looked at the shot, and realized, oh yeah, that wire is in the way. And all he would have had to do was take, maybe move 10 feet to the right, and the wire would have been out of the way. If he had just looked around his scene, if he had paid attention to the foreground, the background, and the middle ground, he would have seen that wire. And he would have seen a very simple, easy way to simply move 10 feet to the right, and it would have been gone. And he would have still gotten the exact same shot, different angle, but still would have been a really, really nice shot of the rocket launch. Now, the other problem is the heads that he's cut off in the lower part of the frame. He's cut the heads off of these people down here. What you got to do is either you've got to include these people's heads, or you've got to get them out completely. Now, this you can fix with a crop. If he takes this photo and crops it like that, problem solved. People's heads are out of the way. But it's an example of having to look around the frame. You look to the edges. I look to my subject, then I want to take a picture of, and I look around. When your eye is up to the camera, you look around. So when I go to a spot that's photogenic, before I lift the camera to my eye, I look at the object I want to take a picture of, and then I look around. Is there other things around? If I can, I might walk around the object to see if there's a better angle or different lighting or a way to get lines out of the middle of it. Maybe there's somebody walking this way that might be kind of photogenic that I can take a picture of also in the shot. And then when I raise the camera to my eye, then I look around inside the viewfinder to see if there's distracting elements in there too, and get rid of those however you can. DJ McIntosh says, noob question, editing photos in Photoshop versus Illustrator. Photoshop is pixel-based, Illustrator is vector-based, it seems. Yeah, you wouldn't edit photos in Illustrator, DJ. Photoshop is a pixel editor, Lightroom is an image editor, and Illustrator is a vector editor. Doug Pasnak says, yeah, I hate when I miss those things. He's talking about the wires through. Yeah, it really is frustrating. I've got a picture of a statue in Florence. I love the color of the statue. It's this aquamarine green, not copper, but it's that kind of color. Really, really beautiful statue. And when I took the picture and walked away, didn't think to look behind the statue, and there's this big old beam going through the center of the statue's head. Ruined the shot for me. Without that beam going through, it was a printable picture. To me, I think the shot was so good, I would have printed it off. But there's this big brown beam going through the shot that I missed. So when you take a picture, look behind the subject, look in front of the subject, look around the subject to see if you've missed anything. Doug Pasnak says, where are we supposed to send the pictures for drubbing by Shawn? There's no drubbing. No drubbing. You see, I just did Dave's thing. There's no drubbing. Send them to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. Be happy to get them for folks. Let's talk to you guys via email. As always, send me emails to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. Love getting emails from you guys. I'm getting emails from my sister now. Why is my sister bothering me? This is a good Mel, stop it. I'm doing a show. Excuse me. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here, folks. I can feel myself fading fast. Someone sent a question, is a high-end camera or a camera with better lenses? Which one is preferable for beginners? Neither. Preferable for beginners is learning how to take good pictures. This is something I beat on all the time. Learn how to take good pictures with an iPhone. Learn how to take pictures with just the cheap camera that you got off eBay or that you found in a pawn shop. High-end camera, if you can afford it, go for it, because the body of your camera is going to last for a long time, and you'll change lenses. If you've got a crappy camera body, putting a expensive lens on it isn't going to make your photos better. But the reverse is true too. You've got a high-end camera body but crappy lenses, not going to make your photos better either. Learn how to take photos first before you learn how to buy the gear. Is photography still a skill, given that we have DSLR cameras? I'm sorry, I'm not going to say your name because that's a stupid question. Photography is always going to be a skill. It doesn't matter whether you've got a DSLR or an iPhone. You still have to know how to take good pictures. I want to say hi to Wes Nelson. West was in town this week, and we missed each other. I kept trying to get together with West, but we couldn't manage it. So sorry, West. Hopefully next time you're in town, we'll be able to get together. Our friend Scott Randall there in Long Island Macintosh user group, Limug, my favorite Macintosh user group. He's talking about the iPhone with no headphone jack. Everything says 3.5 mil. All right, never mind. He's talking about the size. He says, anyway, I would not be happy if they'd make this change. We were talking about this in the Telegram room earlier this afternoon. I would still upgrade my iPhone, but this change would be very inconvenient, at least for a while. Now, some music peripherals need both the headphone jack and the lightning port. The iRig by IK Multimedia, for example. The Apogee Jam also needs to use the headphone jack and lightning port simultaneously. Admittedly, this is a minority of iPhone users, but people who have paid for these devices will not be happy and will probably not upgrade. No, they will. Not right away, Scott. Not the day it shows up, but they will eventually upgrade. I have an old model of the iRig, and now I'll wait to see what happens with the iPhone before I buy a new one. For casual listening, I use a very light, inexpensive set of on-ear headphones. I hate the feeling of trying any type of earbuds, and although I've not tried them, I would not invest in a custom-made set. So any earbuds that Apple includes will be useless to me. I'm not the only user that hates the feel of earbuds. Yeah, a lot of folks hate having things jammed in their ear, and I don't like the way Apple's earbuds are shaped. I've got a custom set, and I've got a couple of other sets that feel comfortable on the motorcycle, and Apple's earbuds were awful on the motorcycle. He says, I really got a lot out of your discussion on sensor size. It seems that all the cameras in my price range, between $200 and $250, have a relatively small sensor. Looking at the sample photos of the cameras I'm looking at, they seem to take pretty good pictures. Now I have to learn to take pretty good pictures. Sensor size, Scott, if all things are equal, a bigger sensor takes better pictures. Okay? But if you don't know how to take pictures, your sensor size doesn't matter. If you're not already a photographer that takes good pictures, according to you, it doesn't matter what your sensor size is. And again, if you can see, go to iPhone Photo Awards. You'll see some amazing iPhone photos. Photos that if I didn't tell you they were taken with an iPhone, you wouldn't know they were taken with an iPhone. And the iPhone's got a little teeny tiny sensor. So it's not the sensor that makes those photos good. It's the knowledge and expertise and the eye of the photographer that makes those pictures good. So don't get caught up on sensor size. I think I was just using sensor size as an example of what to look for when you're buying a new camera. Buy the biggest one you can afford, but don't automatically assume that a big sensor means you will take good pictures. Jason Painter in Sydney, Australia says, in my camera club, most shoot Canon. One of the members once picked up my camera, briefly looked at it, and amusingly remarked, wrong religion. It was funny, but there's an underlying bias. My selection of a Nikon D5300 as my first SLR was both reasoned and impulsive. This camera was the top of the entry-level tier. Based on research, I determined that at that level, Nikon and Canon offered pretty much identical specs. So the final decision came down to arbitrary aesthetics. In my old film SLR days, Nikon was God. Based on that and the natty red stripe in the grip, I chose the Nikon. Exactly. Choose what you like. It's not a religion. It doesn't matter. You can take good photos no matter what camera you have. It doesn't matter whether you have a Nikon or Canon. And anyone who looks at you poorly because of the camera brand you use, don't ever talk to that person ever again. That person is not worth your time. Because there's no such thing as the single best camera for every single person. It's personal choice. Nikon makes great cameras at every price range. Canon makes great cameras at every price range. In the right price ranges, Fuji and Sony and Panasonic and Olympus make great cameras. There's all kinds of great... This is a golden age for good cameras. It used to be, back in the day, you'd only buy Nikon or Canon. But nowadays, you can get great cameras from every manufacturer. Now, again, the pros generally almost always shoot Nikon or Canon. We're talking pro. We're talking high end. We're talking about guys who shoot for National Geographic and for Sports Illustrated and Vogue. But in general, you guys aren't those people. So buy the camera that fits into your price range. Buy the camera that feels good in your hand. Buy the camera you're going to want to carry. Buy the camera that you're going to want to walk around with. If that happens to be a big DSLR like I got, great. If it happens to the iPhone, great. Buy the camera that you're comfortable with, that you can take good shots with. Don't worry about Nikon or Canon or any of that religious stuff. Excuse me. Oh, my goodness. Getting back to the Apple event, it was... I'm trying to get this out the right way. It wasn't exciting, but it wasn't meant to be exciting. But I will take umbrage with those people who say, oh, there was no surprises. Well, if you didn't read the rumor sites, there were plenty of surprises. Don't, as I described this way on Twitter, these are the people who shake the Christmas presents a week before, figure out what it is, and then are sad on Christmas Day because Santa didn't surprise them. If you want surprises, don't read rumor sites. If you want Apple's events to amaze you and delight you, well, first of all, you need a better life. But secondly, don't read these stories. Don't read every single rumor that comes along from 9 to 5 Mac and Cult of Mac and Mac Observer and all the other websites that report every single stupid rumor out there. Don't read them. Ignore them. That way you'll be surprised. And have some perspective about this stuff. It was in the town hall. It was only 300 people. Apple, as we said earlier, Apple doesn't use the town hall for big major announcements. We knew there was going to be no big major announcements, even if I had read no rumors. Even if you didn't read a single rumor site, you would have known it was a minor announcement because of where they had it, in the town hall. Now, that being said, I think the iPhone SE is, for those who need and want it, a great phone. If you're upgrading from a 4 or a 5, you're going to be blown away. The only downside of the iPhone SE, and I get why Apple did it, is, downside in my opinion, is no 3D touch that's available on the 6s. But that's a minor thing. And I think the camera isn't as good as the 6S, but that's understandable because it's a bigger phone. But otherwise, it's going to be a great phone for those folks who don't want the gigantic bulk of the 6S or 6 Plus. If Apple sold 30 million of these things, of 4-inch iPhones last year, you got to assume that this year they're going to sell at least that and certainly more than that. Because there are so many people out there. I hear it all the time. People don't necessarily want the big giant iPhone or any big giant phone. Now, don't get me wrong. I am stupidly happy that Apple got me this because I couldn't read crap on this. This was my problem. Because of this, I was carrying my iPad around with me everywhere I went because I couldn't read on this. But now I've got this, I don't carry my iPad around anywhere with me anymore. I literally do all my outside the house reading on this, on my 6 Plus. Now, granted, when I'm at home and I'm watching TV, I'll grab the iPad and read on the iPad. But when I go motorcycle riding and I stop for a coffee, I used to pull up my iPad. Now I pull up this. So for me, I need and want a great big iPhone. But for the average person, like I said before, most people I talk to are perfectly happy with the size of their smaller iPhone. And now they can get a smaller iPhone that's cheaper. It's for some people on a payment plan that's got almost all the features of the big ones. This is a no-brainer. It's going to be a massive sales hit for Apple this coming Christmas. And good for them. I meant to mention this to Jim Dalrymple, and I forgot. Did you see the story that Walt Mossberg on The Verge said that the iPhone 7 needs to, what did he call it? He said it needs to be phenomenal or needs to be remarkable. It's so frustrating when the dumbasses make those statements. But when a respected journalist like Walt Mossberg does, it's really frustrating. Walt's been around long enough to know that not every single Apple announcement has to be a moonshot. Apple's not going to reinvent the wheel every single year. They can't. If they do, great. But when people like Mossberg put that kind of pressure on Apple, if they don't meet that expectation, people don't complain to Walt Mossberg about it. They'll bitch that Apple didn't meet their expectations, when Apple had no intention of meeting your expectations. But Mossberg set them up. You understand what I'm saying? People don't complain to the source, they complain to the company. If in 6 months Apple doesn't come out with a iPhone that's remarkable, according to Mossberg, people aren't going to write to Mossberg and go, "You promised us remarkable." They're going to bitch about, "Oh, Apple didn't delight me." Doug Pasnak says, "We are talking about a tech press that compressed the 10 years between the iPod and the iPad into 6 months." Exactly. Everyone thinks, the tech press seems to have this thought in their head that Apple does this every 6 months. They don't. Apple does it we're talking about revolutionary products. Apple does it very rarely. But because other companies don't do it at all, we expect Apple to do it for us. And because most of the tech press, as I said on Twitter this afternoon, has got the attention span of an ADHD gnat, they're constantly going, "Oh, Apple, delight me, delight me, delight me, delight me. Make me interested, make me interested." Okay, folks, I can tell I'm going to. Sherry says, "Usually when I'm bad enough to justify taking Buckley's, I can't taste it anyway." Yeah, I can't eat Buckley's. Buckley's. Is Buckley's only Canadian? I think it is, isn't it? Or Commonwealth, British? Buckley's is this cough syrup in Canada that they're proud of the fact that it tastes terrible, and it does. Oh my God, it tastes awful. It's a Canadian product, yeah, exactly. Did anyone else have their parents do this? Give you cod liver oil when you were a kid? Oh. We used to fake being well when I was a kid, because it's the first time you cough, my mother would jam cod liver oil down your throat. It was the most disgusting flavored goop. It was like oil. And it wasn't even good tasting oil. It had that oil consistency. It was fish oil, cod liver oil. Oh, God, this day I can still remember that taste. Oh, I have to go. Oh, my eyes are watering remembering that disgusting taste. Well, thanks very much to our friend Jim Dalrymple for joining me here on the show. Loopinsight.com is his website. Don't forget, for the photography segment, if you want your photos critiqued, we'll do it in another month's time. So take a photo, use a photo that you've already taken, whatever it might be. Send it to me as high res as you can, with a little story behind the photo, to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. As always, thanks to all you guys for being tuned in the show, whether you're tuned in to the live show, listening to the archive, whether you're in the Telegram room or the IRC chat room, however you guys help me to entertain you or be entertained by me each and every week, I appreciate it. Folks, until next week, I've been Shawn King, and you're listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!